What is going on, guys? It's Panjno here, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys the ultimate FPS increase guide for No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky has recently received its next update, which has been a massive multiplayer update adding near unlimited base building and tons of other features. With that, the player population of the game has completely skyrocketed and tons of people are asking for performance increases. As I've checked the game out, and if you're not running on a super high-end system, it usually does suffer with some performance issues. I imagine in the weeks and months coming that the developers will do the best to further optimize this game for lower end systems, and even if you are on a higher end system, this video is going to be aiming to get you guys the best FPS possible depending on your system specs. Inside of this video you're going to be finding customized configs and settings for all types of machines from ultra low end all the way up to ultra high end and everything in between, aiming to give you guys the best visual experience and the best performance experience. As always, guys, if you guys do find this video helpful, please do leave a like on the video if you are happy with the results. Please also leave any questions, queries, feedback, suggestions, and results in that comment section down below, as it's always fantastic to hear from you guys. And if you guys can also subscribe to the channel and press that bell notification if you do appreciate content like this and wish to stay up to date. With all that said and done, let's get straight into the video to keep this as fast and as simple as possible. Right, so to start off with the guide, what you guys need to do is navigate into the description down below, and in there you'll be finding an FPS increase pack, which has been linked for download. Either click on the first link or the second link if the first one doesn't work, and you'll be taken to a website in where you can download this pack. Now this pack has just been made out of convenience as it contains everything you're going to need to follow along with this video. You don't have to follow along with everything in this video, but this is where all the configs are going to be and further optimizations. So go ahead, download the pack, put it onto your desktop, and you'll be given a file like this. Now to open up this pack, you're either going to need a program called 7-zip or WinRAR. Most people usually have one of these installed to their PCs already, but if you don't, take yourself over to Google one of the programs, install it, come back to this video, and we can continue on. Once you guys have done that, simply go ahead and right click on the file and you'll be given the option to extract here. Once you guys have done that, you'll then be given a folder on your desktop with an identical name. Go inside of the folder and you'll be given a configs folder, optimizations folder, and a credits.txt. Inside of the credits.txt, you can find the original download links and sources. For any outsourced optimizations, you can find the original authors' websites, the latest versions of the programs available if you wish to update to them, and also further in-depth explanations as to what everything does, as this video is going to be keeping it brief and to the point. Right, so once you guys have got the folder downloaded, we can simply go ahead and exit out, as we're going to be starting with the optimizations. So starting off, we're going to be going ahead and navigating down to Steam, going over to our library and going over to No Man's Sky. We're going to be right clicking on No Man's Sky and going to the properties tab. Inside of here, we're then going to be navigating over to the top right hand side and clicking on local files and then browse local files. Inside of here, we're going to be going into the binary section. We're then going to be going over to the NMS application found here, which is for No Man's Sky. Right clicking on the application, going down to properties. But inside of here, we're then going to be going over to the compatibility tab, going down to where it says disable full screen optimizations, and also clicking on change high DPI settings and finding the option for override high DPI scaling behavior performed by, and pressing OK. Once both of those are then checked, go ahead and press apply and OK once again. After optimizing the game application itself, we can now go into the settings folder inside of the same folder, and you'll be finding three options inside of here. The one we're interested in is actually the TK graphic settings.mxml. This is where we're going to be installing our custom game config to. So what I like to do now is just minimize out of Steam, make this folder a little bit smaller and drag it over to the side. We're then going to be going into the FPS pack provided by double clicking. We're then going to be going ahead and clicking on the configs folder, and with inside of here you'll be greeted with a high-end config, low, medium and ultra low config. You guys are going to be going with the config which best matches your system specs. You're going to have to decide which category you'd put your PC in. So if it's a slightly older PC, or it's a lower end PC, or a brand new PC, match this as closely as you can to your opinion of your PC. Now what you can do for better FPS gains is you could go one step lower. So say if you were on a high-end system but you kind of wanted the best FPS possible, you could go down to the medium end config. Feel free to come in here and change these at any time and check out the other configs as well. You can also change your in-game graphics settings to find a fine balance, and you can personalize these if you wish to do so. So once you guys have decided on a config you wish to try, what you guys need to go ahead and do is simply go ahead and click on the folder. For me, I'm going to be installing the high-end config, and with inside of there you'll then notice that there is a TK graphics settings.mxml. To install this to our game, what we're going to be doing is simply highlighting the customized file, dragging it over and dropping it into our game directory, replacing the file in this destination, and once that's done, our custom configs have been installed. We can go ahead and game later on and actually further optimize them for our system and personalize them to either give us better FPS or better visual fidelity. Once you guys are then done inside of there, we can then go ahead and exit out both the folders, and we can then go ahead and actually boot into the game, as we're going to be further customizing and personalizing the configs from which are installed. So go ahead and simply boot into No Man's Sky. Right, so once you guys have booted into the game, what we can actually go ahead and do is actually enter into our graphics options. To do this, we're going to be pressing escape. Now do bear in mind that your game should not be running in windowed mode, nor should it be running with borders around the screen. The only reason mine is because I'd have to change my recording mode in OBS, and it would mess up the video and just change things. So your game will be running in full screen, and if it's not, we're going to be getting it to run in full screen. So don't pay any attention to the fact my game is running in windowed mode. So once you guys have gone ahead and press escape, what we're going to be doing is navigating over to the graphics options found here. Inside of here, we're going to be setting our windowed mode over to full screen. We're going to be setting our monitor to primary, and then we're going to be going over to one of the most important options with inside of here, and that is actually the resolution you're going to be running your game at. Now, somewhere on the screen now, more than likely in the bottom right hand side, you'll be seeing a criteria in which you can match depending on your system specs. Of course, you can go off of this and actually personalize this even more, but for a general idea as to what you should be setting your resolution to depending on your system specs, check out the bottom right hand side of the screen for an indication as to what you should set it to. For high-end systems, I recommend going with the monitor's max resolution, but if you do manage to have a 1440p or a 4K monitor, I would not go above 1080p for this game, especially depending on what your hardware is like. For medium-end systems, you could be going somewhere along the lines of 1680 by 1050, and for low-end systems and ultra-low-end systems, I'd recommend going with 1280 by 720 or lower. Again, do come in here, change this around, as this will be one of the main options with inside of here, which will boost your FPS. It will take away from the visual quality of the game, it might make it look a little bit blurry, but do find your fine balance, as this will help out performance drastically. VSync in-game, we're actually going to be turning to the off position, as we're going to be doing some optimizations later on to enable it a different way, so make sure it's set to off. Anti-aliasing, we're also going to be setting to the off position. On-foot field of view, these can be changed to anything you wish to do so, they are personal preference. Motion blur quality is going to be switched to the off position. Motion blur amount is going to be down set to 0, so just hold down the left key here and set it to 0. HBAO is going to be switched to the off position as well. Anisotropic filtering is going to be set to 1. Texture detail, I recommend setting to match your system specs or going slightly lower. So for me, I'm on a high-end system, but I'm actually going with medium. For any of you guys on low-end systems or ultra-low, set your settings accordingly to that. Shadow detail for everyone, I recommend setting to low unless you really want the visual fidelity. Set it to a higher option if you wish to do so, but you will be taking away from your FPS. Reflection quality, we're going to be setting to low for everyone. Light shafts are going to be switched to off. Max FPS, you can cap this if you wish to do so. For any of you guys who are just looking to hit 60 FPS, I recommend maybe capping it at 60. Otherwise, set this to unlimited or maximum. And gamma can be set to anything, it's personal preference. Once you guys are done inside of there, make sure you go ahead and press the apply button. And for those changes to take effect, you will actually have to close out of the game and reboot the game. Do bear in mind you can come back into here at any time and personalize these even more to find a fine balance as to what best suits you, but do bear in mind that your performance may change accordingly. Now, for any of you guys who have changed your resolution and you've restarted your game, and your game might be running in a sort of windowed mode or a bordered mode and you can't get it to go full screen, we're going to be sorting this out and actually optimizing that to set it up properly in the next step. Now, for anyone running on a lower resolution than normal and your game is not actually running in full screen mode and it's got these weird black bars around it, what we can do to actually fix that is we can go ahead and right click on our desktops, open up the NVIDIA control panel, if you have an NVIDIA graphics card that is. We can actually go over to the adjust desktop size and position, and we can actually set this to full screen with inside of here, perform scaling on display, and we can then set the resolution we're then going to be stretching that to, which is normally going to be your monitor's main resolution, which is going to be the top option. So if you're running on a resolution lower than 1920 by 1080 or your monitor's native resolution, set this all the way to the top, make sure those options have then been selected, then go ahead and press apply. And next time you boot your game, it should be running in full screen. So moving on from that step, what we're actually going to be doing is updating our GPU drivers, as we're going to be doing some GPU optimizations to ensure that we can get the best FPS possible with inside of No Man's Sky. We're not going to be overclocking our GPUs, we're just going to be optimizing the GPU itself, just to be running better settings to give you guys the best performance on No Man's Sky. The main reason we're going to be updating the GPU driver is most of these settings do get reset when you do update, so it's best that you update to the latest driver now, especially for any of you guys who have never updated to a GPU driver before, or it's been a long time, you should definitely be running on the latest version. To do that, all you need to do is navigate into the description down below and click on the corresponding link depending on what graphics card you're using. If you have a GeForce NVIDIA card, click on the GeForce NVIDIA link. If you have an AMD Radeon card, click on the AMD Radeon link. If you guys running on the AMD Radeon platform, you can go to the automatically detect and install your driver option here, select download, it will download and install it for you, and it will detect everything for you and get you up and running. For you NVIDIA guys, it's a very similar process. Just go over to the automatic driver updates tab found here, download the GeForce experience, again that will detect everything for you, install it and get you up and going. Right, so now that you guys should have updated your GPU drivers, if you haven't that's okay, but I do recommend doing it. What we can actually do is go ahead and right click on our desktop and select the NVIDIA control panel. If you guys are running on Intel integrated or an AMD Radeon based system, you can simply go ahead and skip around about a minute into this video to skip this step. But for you NVIDIA guys, simply go ahead and click on the NVIDIA control panel. And what we're going to be doing is going up to the top left hand side and selecting adjust image settings with preview. And what we're going to be doing is making sure that the middle option down here, which is use advanced 3D settings, is checked. Then go ahead and press apply. Once it's then been done, simply navigate over to the manage 3D settings. We're then going to be going over to the program settings. Make sure that you do not change the global settings, as we're going to be personalizing our No Man's Sky platform. If you do this for all of the NVIDIA settings across the board in the global settings, you could be running into FPS issues on other games. Right, so once you guys have selected program settings at the top, what we can actually go ahead and do now is select the add button found here on the right hand side, click add, and then go to the top right hand side inside of this screen and go to recently used. Inside of here, you should then be seeing No Man's Sky. Once you guys have found that, go ahead and simply highlight it and hit add selected program. Once you guys have done that, it should read No Man's Sky nms.exe. With inside of here, what we're now going to be doing is changing our settings according to this profile. So starting off, what we're going to be doing is going down to maximum pre-rendered frames. We're then going to be going into the drop down menu, and we're actually going to be setting this to 2. We'd normally set it to 1 for the best performance possible on other games, but No Man's Sky seems to prefer the option of 2. Going down to OpenGL rendering GPU and selecting the GPU we have installed. For me, that's a GTX 1070 Ti, but this will work for lower end cards as well. Do bear in mind that I'm only recording this on my high end system. Power management mode, we're going to be going to the drop down menu and selecting prefer maximum performance, then going down to shader cache and selecting on. We're then going to be going down to threaded optimization, going into the drop down menu and selecting on, scrolling down to triple buffering, and for triple buffering we're actually going to be enabling this for No Man's Sky. So go into the drop down menu, select triple buffering and select on. They're going to be going down to vertical sync, and what we can actually do is select on with inside of here, but we're going to be keeping that off in game, do bear in mind. Scrolling down once again and going to virtual reality pre-rendered frames and setting this to 2 as well. Once you guys have done that, simply go ahead and press the apply button, wait for around about a second or two for the apply button to disappear, and what we can then go ahead and do is exit out the NVIDIA control panel. Proceeding on from there, what we can now go ahead and do is apply some optimizations which everyone watching this video can do, and starting off with those optimizations, we can actually go ahead and further optimize our Windows audio for performance and remove any excess overhead from the CPU to ensure we're running completely natively. This should not deteriorate your sound quality will not get worse, and I'll be extremely surprised if anyone even notices a difference. So to do this, we're going to be navigating into the bottom right hand side, going to our sound icon and right clicking. Once you're inside of there, go ahead and click on the sounds tab, go ahead to the playback tab in the top left hand side, and we're then going to be finding what our sound output device is. It's usually going to be the one with the green tick next to it, which is set to your default device. So go ahead and click on whichever sound output device your PC is using. This might be a different device than I am, but once you guys find the green tick, that should usually be the one. Go ahead and right click on that. Go to properties. With inside of here, we're going to be going over to the enhancements tab and selecting disable all sound effects. Once you guys have checked that mode, we're actually going to be going ahead and pressing apply. Once you guys have done that, we're then going to be following that up by going to the advanced tab at the top, going to the default format, going into the drop down menu, scrolling all the way to the top to 16-bit 44,100 Hz, selecting that, going ahead once again, pressing apply, pressing OK, and OK. Following on from that step, what we can actually go ahead and do now is ensure that Windows is running on the optimal power plan for your system to ensure that we're getting the most performance in games as possible. It's very quick and easy to do. We're going to be navigating into the bottom left hand side and typing in power. Once you guys have typed in power, simply go ahead and click on any of the options in here which are marked with the battery and the cord going around it. Doesn't matter what the option says, just find the icon and click on one of them. Inside of there, we're then going to be going up to the directory at the top and selecting power options. In here, we're then going to be going over to show additional plans, and usually you should be seeing balanced, high performance and power saver. But there's also an ultimate performance power plan in which you Windows 10 users can unlock. If you wish to see how to do that, it's a very quick video and it will be linked in the top right hand side now on the card on screen. Just simply click on that card, pause this video, follow that video, and it will show you how to get this power plan if you wish to do so. If you don't want to faff around with anything like that and you just wish to follow this video, you can go with the high performance power plan. Just make sure you go ahead and check it just like so, and that power plan should be good enough. So either click on ultimate performance or high performance depending on which you're going with. Once it's highlighted, go ahead and press change plan settings. Set these two options to anything you wish to do so, their personal preference. Then go ahead and click on change advanced power settings. We're then going to be going over to the hard disk option, turn off hard disk after, and this will usually either be set to never or 20. Simply click on either of the two options, whether it be never or 20, and we're going to input the value of 0. Then press apply. Then go ahead and scroll all the way down to processor power management, go into minimum processor state and maximum processor state, and ensure they are both set to 100%. If they're not, double click on the number, set 100, go ahead and press apply and OK, save changes, and we can then exit out of the power options. This will not make your system unstable, this will not increase heat with inside of your system, it's completely safe to do, it's just tailoring Windows to be more optimized towards high performance programs. And you should be seeing good results across the board, regardless of what you're doing. And that brings us on to the part 2 step of optimizing our Windows power options. What we're going to be doing is going into the FPS pack provided, going into the optimizations folder, and you should be seeing the application for CPU core parking setup. We're going to be going ahead and double clicking on this application, and there'll be a brief explanation on screen now as to what this program does. Basically, what this program allows you to do is control the Windows throttling options, which can happen especially if you guys are running games where Windows is actually allocating more of your resources towards other programs that might be open. This is defaultly enabled with inside of Windows, and this is usually what causes micro stuttering, stuttering in general, and lower FPS, especially when you're in those hectic moments and there's a lot happening on the screen. If your FPS tends to choke at those moments, unparking your CPU cores will usually help. This is completely safe to do, will not increase heat to your system, and will not make your system unstable, and I recommend doing this for everyone watching this video, as I have yet to see someone get negative results from this. It's very safe and easy to do, and quick as well. We're going to be going ahead and pressing next, accepting the terms of the license agreement and pressing next one last time, and install. Once the program is installed, make sure the option to launch it is checked and go ahead and press finish. It will then take a moment to open up the program. Once the program opens up, you'll then be notified of an updated version that might be available. You can update to that and view the original author's website for a more in-depth explanation as to what the program does by following the blue link. You don't have to update to the latest version, you can simply go ahead and press close if you wish to do so. And your program should look very similar to mine, but the options will be set differently. To start off, we're going to be going over to the top left hand side and selecting this drop down menu, which is System Power Plan. What we're going to be doing inside of here is actually matching the power plan in here with the one we set in the previous step. So if you went with the high performance power plan, select high performance. If you guys went and followed the Ultimate Performance video and you've selected Ultimate Performance, go ahead and select Ultimate Performance. Just match this with the one you previously set. Then inside of here, what we're going to be doing is going over to Core Parking Index. These sliders are more than likely going to be all over the place for you guys. What we're going to be doing is dragging the slider here all the way up to 100%, which means that Windows can now use 100% of your CPU cores. We're then going to be going over to Frequency Scaling Index, which is the speed of those cores, and dragging this up to 100% as well. Last but not least, we're then going to be going over to Turbo Boost Index, which is the maximum turbo speed of those cores, and dragging that up to 100%. Now, before applying this, do not panic, do not be concerned. This does not mean that your CPU will be running at 100% load all the time. It just simply means that Windows can have access to 100% of your CPU as and when it needs it. So once those settings have all been enabled, go ahead and press apply. It will then notify you that the changes have successfully been applied, press OK, and we can then exit out of the program as we're now done with that step. Now, for one of the last steps and one of the most important steps inside of this video, what we can actually go ahead and do is actually optimize our Windows settings for performance. It's very quick and easy to do and very effective. To do this, we're going to be navigating to the bottom left hand side and typing in this PC just like so. Right click on this PC and go to properties. With inside of this tab here, we're going to be going over to the left hand side and selecting advanced system settings. We're then going to be going over to the advanced tab at the top, going over to performance and selecting settings. Inside of here, this will typically be set to let Windows choose what's best for my computer. We're going to be going down to custom, and we're going to proceed to uncheck basically every option within inside of here, besides only two. The only two we're going to be keeping enabled are smooth edges of screen fonts and show thumbnails instead of icons. I personally have smooth edges of screen fonts turned off as well, as that's personal preference and will give you the rougher looking Windows font if any of you guys want it. You can do that if you wish to do so, but that is personal preference and you don't have to. Once you guys are done with that, go ahead and press apply. We can then go ahead to the advanced tab at the top again, this time going over to processor scheduling and adjusting the best performance of programs. Once you guys are done inside of there, we can then go into the virtual memory tab and click on change. Inside of this screen, the option at the top here, which is automatically manage paging file size for all drives, will typically be checked. What we're going to be doing is unchecking that, so we have full control over this, and this is the controls for your Windows page file. The page file is basically where all excess data which can't be processed by RAM goes to. So when your RAM usage is filling up, it will typically spill over to paging files, which are stored on either your SSDs or hard drives to process that data. It's a lot slower, so what we're going to be doing is ensuring that we can optimize the speed of that and put the page file in the fastest place possible for the best performance to minimize slowdowns. So what we're going to be doing is actually deleting all old paging files on our drive so we can go ahead and place the optimized one in. To do this, what we're going to be doing is selecting every drive in here. Don't worry if there's more than mine or less than mine. You might only have one. That's absolutely fine. Start off by selecting the top drive, go down to no paging file, and press set. You'll be given this warning message. Just press yes, as we're going to be setting one back up later anyway. Go ahead to the next drive and proceed to do this step for all of the drives until all of them are set to no paging file. Once you guys have done all of that, we can then decide where we're going to be putting our new page file. And to help us find the best place possible to put our paging file, we can look at the criteria in the top right hand side of the screen now. So the number one place to put a paging file will be on any SSD within inside of your system, whether that be your C drive or any excess SSD you have installed all the time. The best place possible for a paging file to go on will be on any of those SSDs. If you don't have an SSD installed, do not panic, but you have multiple hard drives, we're always going to want to install our page file to the hard drive which does not have our games installed to it, as the hard drive which has our games installed to it is typically being used a lot and is being slowed down by the game files themselves. So we want to put it on a hard drive which does not have our games installed to it. Last but not least, if you don't have any excess hard drives and you only have the one drive on your system, what we can go ahead and do is just install our page file to that, as that is the best place we can do so. So going off of that criteria, simply go ahead and find out which drive you're going to be installing it to. For me, I'm going to be putting it on my C drive, which is an SSD. Once you guys have found which drive you're putting it onto, simply go ahead and select the drive in this list. So again, for me, it's C drive. Then we're going to be going over to System Manage Size, selecting Set, pressing OK. You might be given a warning message at this point, just go ahead and press yes. You'll then be notified that a restart will be required for the changes to take effect. That's okay, we're just going to be pressing OK. Once again, press apply, press OK. Press OK once again, we're then going to be going over to restart later. Now at this point in the video, we've practically done all of the optimizations. There's only one last step to do, but before we get to that step, we're actually going to be restarting our systems to make sure that everything has been applied and all of the optimizations are running properly. To do this, we're going to be going over to the bottom left hand side, right clicking on the power option and selecting restart. We're then going to boot back up, sign into Steam, come back in this video and get ready for the last step. Welcome back to the video, guys. You guys should have now restarted your systems, be back on Steam and ready to continue on with the last step. And the last step is to go into the FPS pack provided one last time, go into optimizations. We're going to be going over to the timer resolution exe. We're then going to drag this and put it onto our desktop. And at this point, most of you guys are probably wondering what this program is. What running this program does is it actually lowers the amount of latency between the hardware you have installed to your PC, the operating system and the game application itself, resulting in better FPS, lower frame times, less stuttering, and an overall faster and more responsive experience on practically any game and application you run. It's extremely easy to use, the program is absolutely tiny, and it's completely safe to use on everything, and this is one of the first things I install to any machine I get my hands on, as again, just like the CPU unparking utility, I've never seen negative results from this. So for a demo on how to use the program, what you'll do is you'll boot into the program, you'll select maximum, which sets the lowest amount of input latency possible. We're then going to minimize the program so it's running in the background. We can then boot into our game, boot into our application, play it for however long you wish to do so. Once you're then done playing your game, you'll exit out of your game. You'll then bring the program back up, select default, which sets it back to the normal value, and then exit out of the program. Again, I highly recommend doing this with every workstation task and game you're playing, as you should be seeing some great results. So with all of the optimizations done and now that you know how to use everything, we can actually go ahead and boot into our game for the first time. To do this again, we're going to be booting into time resolution, selecting maximum, going over to Steam, going into our library, going over to No Man's Sky and selecting play. And there you guys have it, my ultimate FPS increase guide for No Man's Sky. Do bear in mind, guys, that you can go in and fine tune and personalize those settings and find out what the best balance is for you guys, as everyone is different. Some people prefer the FPS, some people prefer the visual quality, so find which balance suits you best, spend a little bit of time in there and you should be seeing some great results. If you guys have any feedback, results, tips and tricks which I might have missed in this video, leave them down in that comment section down below so we can get even further optimizations going. Leave any suggestions for any games you might wish to see me cover or any other utility videos you might want to see me cover, and please do subscribe to the channel and press that bell notification to be notified whenever I do upload instantly if you do appreciate content like this. A like on the video will be deeply appreciated as well if you are happy with the results, and with all that said and done, thank you very much for watching, guys. I've been Panjno and I am out.